Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Welcome to Handle with Care, Breast Cancer and Beyond. A safe place where both women and men can come and listen to real people talk about their breast cancer experience and the effects that follow well into survivorship. Hosted by Carrie Madrid, a stage 3 breast cancer survivor and founder of the CARE Project. It's time to Handle with Care.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Handle with Care, Breast Cancer and Beyond. My name is Chris Donovan. I am the co-host here with Carrie Madrid. She is the founder and CEO of the Care Project Inc.org. And today's interview is with a woman named Stori Nagel, who is the co-founder and CEO of Haus of Voltas. In this episode, we'll hear Stori share how she grew to embrace her body following cancer, and it turns helped others to do the same through her nonprofit. If you want to check it out, go to hausofvolta.org, Haus of Volta.org, and enjoy the show.
Hey, friends, my special guest today is Stori Nagel, CEO and founder, no? Is that your title?
Yeah.
Of Haus of Volta.
Co-founder, because my husband and I actually founded it.
I love him.
Yeah.
He's like a big teddy bear.
Exactly. He's not such a big teddy bear anymore. He got gastric bypass.
Did he?
Yeah.
How's he doing?
He looks great. He's never looked like that before. It's crazy. It's
Fantastic.
it's like seeing and being with another person. It's nutty.
That's kind of exciting, isn't it?
It is very exciting.
Okay, that's not what we're here to talk about. How did we get there?
Off on the tangent.
Here we go already. I call it my squirrel moments.
Yeah.
I squirrel all the time.
Squirrel.
Yeah. So listen, I wanted to have you on because I think that we're both so very different than a lot of our fellow breast cancer thrivers in that neither one of us has a whole lot of filters. Right? And in the best way possible.
Yeah.
In the best way possible.
Yeah.
I don't mean that we're rude and crude and crass. We
No.
can be, but we're not. We're big mushes, but some people look at us and they assume that we're these hard, hard to approach and hardened women. And we're not. We're like the most loving people ever. So we met a few years back at a Young Survivor Coalition, like a symposium, I think it was.
Yeah, it was like a mini day and a half thing in Long Beach.
In Long Beach, yeah. And I realized you were in my, sort of in my area, in the same county anyway.
Riverside County.
Riverside.
951.
We are in Southern California, and we both have nonprofits that support breast cancer patients and survivors and thrivers and you name it. So we just connected, and I wish we could spend more time together because we do have a ball when we are together.
A little too much.
I wish that people could see your outfit. I'm going to take photos before you leave because it is just freaking fantastic. So the purpose of this podcast is really we're just going to have a conversation. You can get to know Stori and what Haus of Volta is and does, as well as talk about some taboo subjects, if you will, like death.
Ooh.
Yeah. We all die. Whether you have cancer or natural causes, we all die at some point. And Stori and I both believe in having healthy conversations about it so that you don't have to do it on your deathbed. Right?
I like to say that the Grim Reaper follows all of us, except those of us that have had cancer. We just see him in the rearview mirror. We acknowledge him and we flip him the bird and we just keep going.
Say that shit again. Man. Right? So let's go back. Haus of Volta, when did you start it and what exactly do you do?
In 2012, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I was 38 years old, and I kind of knew it was coming because my mom had multiple sclerosis. I thought either multiple sclerosis or breast cancer was going to get me. I was convinced. If you want to call that manifestation, you can. But on my dad's side, there was breast cancer. So when I was diagnosed, I really wasn't surprised. And
did you have genetic testing?
I had it done during treatment, but it wasn't. I wasn't BRCA.
Yeah.
So it's not BRCA positive.
Right.
But it ended up being ER positive, and there was a bunch of ER traits, which is estrogen responsive, which means your body makes a little too much estrogen. And so after I got treatment done, my husband had tried to talk me into doing modeling before, and I was too self-conscious about it.
Okay.
And then after treatment, I just didn't give a flip anymore. Then I was
Right?
like, but I also told him, I'm like, nobody wants to see anybody, over 40, white and heavy, do anything, especially a woman, And so I started doing hobby modeling where there's, photographers that want to like hone their craft, so to speak. I'm trying not to do air quotations because you said not to make hand gestures.
No, you can talk with your hands.
So
so with photographers,
so they need
right?
a subject to photograph. So I got hooked up with this group, and they did like theme shoots and stuff, and that was really fun. And I was falsely under the guise in my mind that every husband was obligated to compliment their wives, which now I know is not true. So the compliments that came from my husband, I didn't really take to heart because I thought he was obligated. But once I got photo shoots done and I had like these complete strangers complimenting the way I looked and the way I handled myself and the way I portrayed myself in photography, it really started to change the way I looked at myself because I had a lot of self-loathing and hatred towards my own body because like I'm the size of a dude. I used to be 5'10", and, currently over 200 pounds, but like, I can pick stuff up like a dude. So it was always like, I was always insecure.
So in your mind, that was a negative.
Yeah. In my mind, that was a negative. Now I've come to realize it doesn't really matter.
Right.
But, so to have people compliment me and not really be any smaller than I am now was kind of like a life changer for me.
It's like a light bulb goes on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had that. I always say that, I too was diagnosed in 2012.
You're like making eye contact with me this whole time, and I'm like looking at the floor.
No, you don't have to. You don't have to. This is audio. Who cares? But I remember at the time thinking like, oh, I feel pretty good. I look pretty good, right? For 40 and blah, blah, blah. And I thought I was, and by society's standards, I was more aesthetically pleasing back then, but I still was the same way. I was doubting myself. I didn't have a lot of confidence. There was things I didn't like. My hands are stubby and fat. I call them my sausages. But guess what?
Fred Flintstone.
Yes. Yeah. But I look at them now and I'm like, I have my dad's hands. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I have big, broad shoulders. I always have, even when I was 153 pounds. And I'm now 205.
That means you can pick shit up.
That means I can carry a heavy ass load,
means.
Right?
It's not a downside. It's actually a plus. It means that you're strong. Is what it means.
So you had an aha moment, and you realized that if you felt that way, there's got to be other people that feel that way.
Yeah, and then I started, like I normally do. I signed up to be a state leader for the Young Survival Coalition, having not ever even gone to any kind of support group meeting. Which is ridiculous, but that's the way I do things.
I didn't either. I didn't think I needed it.
I just go. I don't know about that, but it was like, well, part of it was I got like this premonition before I really started treatment. When I first got diagnosed, I prayed and I was like, God, I don't know what this is for. Can you tell me what this is for? And anyone that's ever asked for a sign before, boy.
Yeah, be careful what you ask. Be careful what you ask for.
Yeah,
right?
you better know ahead of time that he's gonna, So what I heard was that it wasn't me that was gonna be so changed by what happened to me, but I was gonna change other people's lives by what happened to me. And so I kind of saw it as like I have a job.
Yes,
I have a job to do.
Yes.
So I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing, so I'm like, well, this looks like an opportunity to do whatever God was trying to ask me to do.
Right.
And not even having gone to a support group meeting. So I go to a support group meeting, and women are talking about like my lumps, and then they would put their hands on their breasts, and then they'd say stuff like, my husband won't touch me from the waist up, or they almost associated it with like having a foreign object in your body, which anybody that has
if they have an implant,
anybody that has breast implants or any kind of implants has like a, but you don't see strippers walking around going, my lumps. They're like, look at my tits.
Right. Right.
Even though like logically they don't look the same, but still it's like, it's your body.
So how did it make you feel when you heard them self-loathing?
So it was really difficult because I didn't feel that way, but my husband was like a huge part of it, where like he would try and peek down my shirt and like cop a feel and stuff like that. And I'd be like, the hell are you doing? Like, you realize that these are just like, this is like a bag of water inside of here that you're groping on. Right. But he treated them like they were my natural breasts. And to me, what that did to my psyche was it made me feel as if they were my natural breasts. And honest to God, like I like them, actually love them, even though I've had to have a bunch of like surgeries on them. I love them way more than the other ones because there was something cathartic that happened when they were removed. So when you get breasts when you're like 9 years old and you get all this unwanted attention, you cast onto your breasts that they are responsible for all of this unwanted attention.
Absolutely.
Like if you were
I think we're related. No, really.
Almost molested, almost gang raped. And then you're like, well, what was it? Because I had big boobs and I was a kid. So then you cast all this blame on these two pieces of flesh that you have around on your chest, which isn't necessarily true, which, people would be like, you manifested your cancer because you hated your breasts. Well, possibly. But there was a freedom in getting them removed that I never had any clue was going to happen.
Yes.
A girlfriend of mine had a photograph of hers like on the operating table afterwards, and I so wish I would have been able to see them and given them like a last farewell. Yeah. Kind of a deal. But I thought I was going to lose my husband because of it. And
because we hear those stories.
Right. And obviously they're deeper than that, but like when you don't have a whole lot of value in yourself and you just value yourself as a piece of meat and you think that that's all he sees you as a piece of meat, you're like, the boob man's leaving.
Right.
And to see him treat the newly reconstructed breasts like they were the old ones, like he's just as happy to do, and you can do all the same things you can do with natural breasts as reconstructed breasts, FYI.
Yeah.
No filter. But
it does take time though. Now,
it does.
I don't have implants. I had deep flaps. So I had both breasts removed, and they did use anyway, Google it, deep flap. But for me, it was a freedom too, because I too was the girl who got boobs at like age 10, and everybody was snapping my bra at age 11 and making fun of me
and telling you your bra is stuffed and
and then,
a feel. And,
it just it lends itself to all of that, and you become very self-conscious, and you actually hate them. And then I had a reduction 9 years before I was ever diagnosed. So then I had these great perky, small, appropriate, not small, but proportionate to my body. Felt great, and then this comes, and I was just like, "Are you kidding me right now?"
I didn't know we could say the F word.
Oh, we try not to, but So once I got my diagnosis, I was like, "Oh, we can get rid of these? Fantastic!"
Yeah.
So I didn't go through what a lot of women do, in particular, with grieving their breasts and feeling like they lost their femininity. I, like you, felt a freedom. Yeah. Like, okay, well, now I'm in control.
I just wish they would have given them to me, so I could have like drop kicked them into the dumpster.
That's disgusting.
Hey.
But I get it.
Yeah.
So, okay, so how did House of Volta come up? Whose idea was it?
Okay, so after we went to these support group meetings, then we saw that the women didn't feel the same about their bodies as I did. And I was like, well, why is that? And, you know, I went home and I was crying to my husband and I'm like, I can't rent you out to them like some kind of male prostitute. There's got to be something illegal.
Right.
Like what can we do to help them to feel the way I feel in my body? Mm-hmm. And so we came up with the idea of photographing them as pinup models with hot rods, because that's kind of like the culture like I grew up with was that hot rod culture.
And there's something very powerful about having your photo taken, even if you're not comfortable as the subject. Once those photos come out and you see them as somebody else. Initially, you might be extra critical of yourself.
Oh, yeah, we had people go like, that's not me. And I'm like, well, who the heck is it then?
Right. And that's what we see in you. And there's something so powerful
Yeah, so
about
it's like
that.
it's like how the outside world sees you. And we never want anybody to look like not like themselves. Like we've talked to people about like wearing wigs or whatever. And we've only done it if they asked, because we don't want them to not look like themselves. You want them basically to look like yourself on steroids.
Absolutely.
Like, and not like literally on steroids, but like.
Don't write us.
No, yeah.
Amped up, glammed up, whatever it is makes them feel happy.
Right, kind of like a Glamour Shots That's a throwback. I just showed my age.
Yeah, 1990s.
Yeah,
Glamour Shots.
version of yourself, you know, like the you know, spit polished version of yourself.
Right. And two, I think that experience of feeling like the center of attention and having
letting somebody else style them.
Right. And I was just going to say that, having you style them and saying, look, I know this isn't something you might not normally wear, but trust me.
And they do have a choice. It's not like, you know, we make them not have a choice.
I know you bully them.
Oh, yeah. I'm such the bully.
So you did this first calendar shoot?
Yeah. And originally that was the main direction, was self-love and body positivity and kind of like regaining your sexuality, not just for yourselves, but also so that other people will see that you aren't broken and you aren't damaged. Because there was all this imagery before we started our project where everybody looked like they were sad. Yeah. And it was like, bitch, I don't need help. Looking like I'm sad. Like, I don't need you. Why do you think I dressed in drag the whole time I was like in chemo? Because I didn't want anybody like coming up to me and going like, talk to me about, oh, so you're in treatment? It ain't none of your damn business.
Right.
We don't need anybody else taking pity on us because we got like.
There's something that makes that worse, right? So when people, it's kind of like when something bad happens and someone goes, oh, honey, and it's like, don't do that.
Oh, the minute they put their hand on your wrist, you just want to like punch them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to
don't like, oh, honey me.
You need to be on my next episode of Whining with Care, which is where we sit around and kind of whine and bitch about the worst things that people say to us.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, you'll be on that. You can be my co-host.
Oh, my God. That'd be so much fun.
Yeah. So you created House of Alta when? What year?
We had the idea in 2014. So this would have been like 2 years after I was in treatment.
It's going to be super easy for me to remember your dates because we were both diagnosed in 2012. We started our projects in 2014. We're still going strong.
Yeah.
So what are you doing?
Amazingly enough.
I know.
It just first started out, I asked the craziest like 11 survivors that I knew of.
Right.
Some of them I didn't even know. Some of them I had seen a vision of in my head and had no idea who they were. And then one was like covered in tattoos, and I was like, I have no idea who this even is.
Right.
And then that ended up being Beth Fairchild.
Oh, okay.
And I had just come up to her at like a YSC event, and I was like, would you do this thing? And she's like, oh, yeah, sure.
Right. Because you got to have people that are down.
Yeah. And then it kind of just like a bunch of people just started coming in from there because we do applications in October. Mm-hmm. But
how many of those have you done? How many photo shoots have you done?
We've probably done about 75 total. And that's just the people that we have put in the calendar shoots.
Yeah.
And then we did fundraisers on the side where we would photograph anybody that wanted to be photographed, like for a donation. And then we would photograph people that were metastatic for nothing.
Right. And then so those funds are used for what specifically?
So we produced the calendar. Mm-hmm. It was really our only product for a really long time.
Right.
And we would sell the calendar, and it's pretty big.
Yeah.
So
it's like professional grade, really nicely
it's
done.
like they call it like wall art.
Yes.
So and then whatever doesn't get sold by January, so we start selling in October, or when we get them back from the publisher. we try and get them back by October. Whatever doesn't get sold by, mid-January, we start donating to breast cancer centers nationwide. And so the main outreach goes to giving hope to women that are currently in treatment.
It's important for them to see that there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Right.
And once you cross that river, it can be very beautiful and fun. And
Right. I wouldn't trade this experience for the world. Even going through the months and months and months of pain and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I've learned of products that could have helped me, even though they didn't help me at the time. I know them now.
Right.
And then I can recommend them to people so that they don't make the mistakes that I did, like putting a heat pack on your expander.
Right.
And burning the whole bottom of your breast. So all the things, the bad things, that I went through were I can see that they were for good. Mm-hmm. And so it doesn't behoove me that I had to go through all that stuff because if not me, I'm not going to cast, this suffering onto somebody else just because, I'm going to play the why me card.
Right.
But,
so what do you think has been the greatest contribution that your organization and you have made on our community of survivors?
Oh my gosh. It's harder for me to say, but my proudest moment was when the state of California asked me to be a co-PI. So
what is that?
Originally, like I said, we were just supposed to be body positivity. And then the state approached me. The state has a program called California Breast Cancer Research Program. And it's funded by the cigarette tax.
Okay.
And so what they do is they train community.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Outreach researchers. So somebody like yourself, somebody like myself that has experience in the field, because researchers can only come up with so much information.
Right.
Because they're not experienced. It'd be like they can only guess what needs to be done. And so I was put up for this, to be trained for this research program, and I had 2 + 2 math as a senior.
Yeah, me too. You're like, research what?
And everything that I know up until this point was self-taught.
Right.
And self-researched. And so for them to see enough promise in the work that I had put out before they approached me.
Right.
And to think that I was capable of going through this program, which if you would have told me everything that was involved, I would have shot myself in the foot ahead of time.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
But we ended up writing a grant. I had to find a partner for the kind of research that I wanted to do, which was how does physical activity affect body positivity and quality of life in breast cancer survivors? And so I had to find someone whose field was specific to that. Sherry Hartman at UCSD.
Nice.
Ended up being my research partner, who was great. And I don't know how many times I've apologized to her for having to put up with me. But
be unapologetically yourself.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You go in as a layman, and you really don't know how inept you are or unprepared you are. And so to be trained in this program and to have the state inform me on things like disparities, which that's how I learned about the health disparities in people of color was from the state.
Right. What an honor to be included, to be asked to be included in something so important. Because, like you said, as a patient, when you're going through this, the doctors, the nurses, the clinicians, they can only tell you so much.
And they can only tell you what they know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And unless they've been through it themselves, there's so much more that you and I know that our nurses and doctors don't know, right? Just because we've gone through it.
Yeah.
So what an honor to be included in something like that.
Yeah, and then, you have, once you become kind of a mentor to people,
right? You
don't want to give them the wrong information, and God forbid I give you my opinion.
Right.
I don't want to give you my opinion. I want to give you the facts.
Right.
So people would come up and ask me. So we ended up writing a grant. We ended up getting it funded. and we ended up doing a research program. We had peer mentors that were also breast cancer survivors who were physically active, and were able to mentor the women that we had enrolled in our study. And, they do predictive, estimates of what they think is the product of the study is going to be at the end.
Okay.
And we came out like 25 to 50% above what they had predicted.
Fantastic.
So that's social media engagement, because we had a social media engagement on like a Fitbit was the only thing that was like below what they had estimated, but everything else was like way above, which is like, it's probably still hasn't sunk in that like I have like a research study and I'm like a researcher.
Stori.
Yeah.
That's a big fucking deal. Well done. Let me just tell you
Thank
that.
you.
Well done. I know
you.
that it's hard to talk about your accomplishments, if you will, and things that you do yourself, but that's a job well done.
Thank you.
So take that and run with it.
Like half of me is like, half of me is Spock and the other half is Robin Williams. So it's like hard to wrangle the two of them. They get in the room and they start fighting and riffing off of each other.
Right. So how is House of Alta doing now with COVID and everything? Because we're not able to go out and do all our photo shoots and things that we want to do. So how are you guys surviving?
Right. So we got a really gracious grant. And I didn't know, I'm not talking bad about the person that gave it to me, like not even, but I didn't believe it until like it showed up at my doorstep.
Right.
And it was like, are you kidding me? Like I have more money in the bank, like for my nonprofit than I ever had like during normal, working hours or like working like pre-pandemic stuff. And, it's unbelievable. I guess it's a testament to like what I've been doing and people's belief in me, because
they don't want you to stop.
Right.
That's what we found here at the Care Project too. It's like,
well, and then you're probably at the 5-year mark too, which the 5-year mark is like you're going to make it or break it.
We're approaching our 7 years in October of this year, and it's been hard. But I mean, this past year we've gotten, because we don't really work on grants. We work on fundraisers and monthly donors and things like that. I don't have time to write grants. I work a full-time job. I run this, I run that. But
I had it fall in my lap.
Yeah.
And that's like
fantastic.
And that's how the other two happened too. They just fell in my lap.
Right.
And so it was like, because it seemed like the harder I tried to work towards fundraising and stuff like that, the more it failed. So it was like it was almost like I wasn't supposed to do that route.
Right. And so I didn't have a lot of luck when I tried to just sort of willy-nilly, apply for grants in the beginning. And then I was just kind of like,
you're too small. You don't have
too
it
small. You don't
have a big enough
overhead.
outreach.
Yeah. All that, right?
You don't have, this, you don't have this, you don't have that.
But thanks to COVID, all of a sudden I've had all this money drop in our lap. But then the bad part is they're like, oh, but you got to use it by the end of the year. Okay, well then that's fantastic. I can do that. But then what happens going into next year?
Yeah.
Because I haven't been able to have my one main fundraiser.
Yeah.
The other people that ran fundraisers for us also can't have their fundraisers. So I don't know. It's been something. I'll say that.
Well, I've also had like a really fantastic tie-in with USC, which I never thought was going to happen. And I try not to. I always love when people say, people make plans and God laughs.
Yeah.
Because it's true. Like you can make plans all you want, but like they all have to be like super duper loose because
totally.
And
you got to be able to pivot.
Right. I had no idea what this partnership with USC was going to be like. I'm on an advisory committee for cancer outreach, and like I was more nervous in my entire life than like when they announced my name. I'm like at USC and there's all these like intelligence intimidates me.
Yeah.
And
me
so
too. Me too.
Not that I don't think I have it, but like when you compare it to like schooling and what you've done yourself, you tend to downplay your own intelligence because you don't have a degree behind your name.
Right.
But so like they call my name as part of this committee, and I like sheepishly stand up and kind of wave my hand, like because it was intimidating to be there. But it's so crazy that they would involve me.
Right. Do you ever, like, every time I walk through the doors here at the Care Project, I think to myself, is this really my life?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
am I really doing this? Like,
Yeah.
look, we really have,
Yeah.
we're CEOs.
Yeah.
Who are we?
Who put me in charge of this?
Who put me in charge of this?
I still have this whole like, I don't know how to dress like an adult.
Right.
I don't know how to act like
Yeah,
an
look
adult.
at us. We're in leopard print and I don't know what you call that.
I don't
Confetti?
know.
What are you wearing?
I don't, it's confettiing all over the floor.
I love it. You're going to leave me sparkle in here.
Yeah. But that's just because you're a professional doesn't mean you aren't allowed to like express yourself.
Right.
Or have any kind of flavor, or have people not take you seriously.
Right. You know, when I first started the CARE Project, I joined the Chamber of Commerce, and I tried to go to these networking things and all that. I was so uncomfortable.
I tried doing that too.
And I was like, okay, so I guess I need to buy like a Black Panther, and I need to do this. But then I
die first.
Right. Well, I did. I tried. Right. But then, like, probably 2.5 years in, I just went, oh, fuck this. I'm just going to be me.
Yeah.
I don't run a bank. I run a nonprofit.
Yeah.
I work in jeans and a t-shirt,
Yeah.
you know, and occasionally a leopard print.
Completely.
So, yeah. So, anyways, we got to wrap up soon, but I'm going to have you back. But one of the things that I want to talk about, and we're just going to kind of tease it because we're going to come back and do another episode all about it. One of the things that we try to do with this podcast is talk about things that some feel are taboo or inappropriate. And I don't mean inappropriate in a inappropriate way.
My sense of humor in a nutshell.
Yeah, pretty much. But I mean things like death, right? We're all going to die.
Right.
We need to have healthy conversations and productive conversations about it.
Right.
We recently recorded an episode on estate planning with my attorney, Ryan Kerrigan. Super important, super easy. These are things that people need to talk about. So one of the things that you've done in the past is your death diners.
Yes.
Talk about that.
Yeah. So one of my good friends, my best friend actually, she passed away in so my mom and my best friend at the time passed away within about a month and a half of each other. So my mom was in what comes before October?
September. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. September.
Yeah. Okay. So so my mom was real early October, and then my best friend was in December. And so, but when I met her, she was metastatic. And so she actually wanted me to do all of this stuff and got me into like reading about being a death doula. And I've never been afraid.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah. So a death doula is just like a birth doula, but it's the backwards.
Got it.
I don't have a certification for that. I would.
Is there a certification?
Yeah,
for that?
Spirit's really telling me I need to have a certification for that. So she got me into like reading about. She's like, "Look, bitch, I'm gonna be dying, and I don't want you to."
Yeah, I need you to handle it right.
Yeah. So she's the one that really got me into doing that stuff, and we wanted to be able to have a healthy conversation around it because, like you said, it's so taboo.
Right.
And I've never been afraid of dying. I've always been afraid of suffering because I watched my mom suffer and being a burden because my mom always, seemed like she felt like she was a burden on people. And I've been both of those things and I'm still here. So I'm not afraid of those things anymore. So, but so many people think that it's like so terrible to have to talk about it or that it's like morbid when it's really a part of life.
And people will say that, oh, don't talk about that. And it's like
you're going to bring it on. You're like,
right.
It's like a wives' tale that you're going to bring it on.
Right.
Like,
don't put that in the atmosphere. I hate that. When people say that, I'm like, shut it. Yeah.
Like, you're like, what? Too soon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you can't crack any Titanic jokes because it's like too soon.
So what did you do with the death diners? Tell me.
So what we did was we had groups together where we would just let people talk about like the loved ones that had passed, the experiences they had since they had passed, and their thoughts on what they wanted to do when they passed. So we had someone very, very, very close to us pass, and not a lot of plans were made beforehand. And I got so upset that I called my dad and I said, if you don't tell me what you want, and
oh my gosh, I just had this conversation with
my
mother.
I said, if you don't tell me what you want me to do with you, I will dump you in a ditch. And because I'm not going to, it's the worst thing in the world to leave someone up to a child
to try to guess what your wishes were.
And what you wanted. Like, I didn't know that you wanted to be, you wanted me to smuggle your ashes into Las Vegas and put you into slot machines. But they have to tell you what they want. And then if they don't know, well, at what time are you going to start thinking about it?
Right.
So I guess I was so frustrated. My dad called me back about 3 years later, not 3 years, 3 days later. And was
like, what?
Whoa. He didn't leave me on red. And was like, I figured out what I wanted to do. And I'm like, good. Because it's going to be me that's doing it.
Right.
And so, I want to know what you want.
So how did the people the patients and the survivors that you were dealing with, how did they respond to that?
Well, they loved it. People loved that they were able to talk about something that they just get shushed on.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So I was taking a morning walk this morning with my friend Michelle, and we were talking about it because one of our dear friends just passed, and her young adult children are now trying to figure out, plans, and she had all her ducks in a row. So that's fantastic. But we were talking about how horrible it is when someone doesn't have that in place.
Oh my gosh.
It's the worst thing ever. And when you're on your deathbed, that is not the time to be making plans.
No. If it was up to me, I'd have it all laid out ahead of time. Ultimately, I don't care. I don't think I deserve to hold up a space in the ground for the rest of my life. My ancestors were all buried or burnt or whatever. And, I don't think ultimately I want that. But so I just ask my kids, if there's something that you would want, I'd love to be cremated and just put in the places that I loved.
Right.
But ultimately, even if I'm not, my kids will go there and think of me anyway.
Absolutely.
So it really doesn't matter.
But it's so important.
If you throw me in a ditch.
I think a lot of the traditional ways of putting somebody, how do you say that? I was going to say putting them to bed. That's
good night, Grandma.
Yeah, good night, Grandma. But you know what I mean? Laying somebody to rest. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
Chemo brain.
Yeah.
It's really more for us than it is for the person. Well, the person is gone. In my opinion, the person is gone.
Well, that's what a viewing is for. Right. So in
closure.
In the research, in the research that I did, a viewing is actually for closure, because if you don't see them in that state, and people are horrified, oh my God, I had to look at a dead body.
Right.
But if you don't see them in that state where they're unanimated, and trust me, Forest Lawn did such a beautiful job on my mother. My mother had not looked that beautiful in probably 15 or 20 years. And you are expecting them to get up and to talk and to blink because they do such a beautiful job. But at the same time, you touch them and they're cold
and they're gone.
And then your mind is like, she's gone.
I just told my friend Michelle my story that the only dead body that I ever touched was my grandfather. My grandpa Madrid was like daddy to everybody, and I adored him. And I was 23 or 4 when he passed, and my heart literally felt like it came out of my chest. I remember being tortured with the traditional Catholic, the rosary, the mass, then the funeral, then the burial. And it's like a 2 or 3 day ordeal. And it was torturous. And I just remember him looking so handsome in the casket.
Yeah.
And my dad holding my hand. And I said to my dad, I just want to touch him. And he goes, you can touch him.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was expecting, but all I did was I took the back of my fingers and I stroked his jawline.
Yeah.
And it was like a cold, hard rock. And I was
It was like marble.
Traumatized.
Yeah, it was like
and I
marble.
said, that is, I never want to do that again.
Yeah.
I don't go to funerals to this day. If I do, the rare ones I do go to, I sit in the way back because I just don't, to me, they're not there. And I try to focus that they're in my brain and they're in my heart.
Well, that's,
So I think everyone has to process a little differently.
Right.
And that's okay, right?
Right.
But we need to have conversations about it.
Right. Because it's so like, it used to be such a realistic thing in everybody's life that it was like, your dog's eventually going to die and your dad's eventually going to die. And it's a realistic thing. It doesn't mean you want it to happen.
Right.
And I don't think you can manifest it happening by thinking or worrying about it.
I think it's our responsibility to our loved ones to get our affairs in order, have the conversations, let our wishes be known, and then...
Yeah, there's also reading that you can do that can help you cope, but ultimately there's no replacement, and ultimately there's no balm, and you're just left with the pain of them not being there anymore. But
right. Well, I think that's important work. I mean, you've done an incredible job with our community, and not just here in Riverside County, but all over the country, really. And we've met people globally I know I have, and I'm sure you have as well, through the breast cancer community online is incredible. So how can people reach you?
So I have a website, www.houseofvolta.org. I'm on Facebook.
And that's H-A-U-S.
H-A-U-S. So the reason behind the name is I didn't know what I was originally like supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to make it like enigmatic, meaning like it could be anything.
Yeah.
So I went to school for fashion design. I have an AA in fashion design. And design houses are called houses, like House of Lanvin or whatever. And they have like a multitude of people that are all have the same goal, like House of Chanel or whatever. They all have the same goal. And the goal is to uplift and portray an idea. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where the House of comes from. And then I'm a huge, like I said, Spock on one side, science geek. And Tesla's a car, Tesla's a band. So I couldn't use Tesla. I'm fascinated with electricity.
Really?
I couldn't use Tesla. And so Alejandro Volta, he's the one that discovered the volt, so the measurement for electricity. Okay. So like voltage comes from his name. So that's where Volta comes from, is from the man that discovered the measurement for electricity.
That's like a really deep meaning for you. Now I'm like, why did we start the CARE project? How did we come up with that?
Well, because like there's a lot of them that say like boobs or cans or tits or whatever.
Yeah.
And like as gross as my sense of humor is, I'm like, that's crass.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want.
Sometimes we have a little.
Right.
Yeah,
but my needing to be proper is selective.
Yeah.
And so
houseofvolta.org.
Yes. And then I'm on Facebook, Instagram. Yeah. I'm having so much fun with TikTok. Like I just do like these little 1 minute
I just can't.
like spiels.
I just can't do one more thing. Of course I think I said that about Instagram too, and now I'm on that. So I don't know. We'll see.
You just integrate it, and then because I have like all these things going through my head, like philosophical things. Yeah. It's a good outlet for me because then I get to get it out, and then it's not like in my head like you can
spew it.
Hey, say this.
Yeah,
say this, and then
it's just out.
Yeah, you get it out, and then it's not bothering me anymore.
Nice. Well, I'm so glad that you chose to come and hang out with me today.
Me too.
You will be my co-host for the next Whining with Care episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't even have to wine taste. We wine taste while we wine, but you don't even have to drink. You could just have our water. Thank you for my water today.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay, well, that's it. That's all I got for now. We will talk more.
Okay.
On more taboo subjects with Stori and Carrie.
Yeah, I can talk for days.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.
Love you guys. Peace.
Take care.
Thank you for listening to Handle with Care, Breast Cancer and Beyond. Please let us know what you think of the show by leaving a rating and review. And don't forget to share it with a friend. For more information or to connect with Carrie, go to thecareprojectinc.org.